Hello and welcome to another episode of FinTech Focus TV with me, Toby. I have been excited about this one for weeks. I should have done it years ago, and I'll tell you why I should have done it years ago, because Amjad here is one of my very, very first customers when we started Harrington Star up. So it's wonderful to see him again. It's been far too long. It's part of the rich fabric of Harrington Star that you're part of the story, and I'm forever grateful for the opportunity you gave. So I'll say that right at the start. So, but also, a couple of weeks ago, I saw something pop up on LinkedIn, and I thought, you know what, this is exactly what I want to be talking about on this show right now. Amjad is the head of AI now at TRG Screen. It's been a hell of a story. You've got a great story to tell, and we're going to go into all of that. And I think, look, if anyone wants to be talking about anything in this space at the moment, it's AI and the journey which is coming into. And I've known you, as I say, for a long time. And I've always been really impressed by the way you think about this industry and technology within it and all that sort of thing. So to see you move into this sort of a role at the pioneering edge of technology is something I'm really excited to get involved in. So I've hyped you up a bit there, Amjad.
Well, thank you for this. Absolute pleasure to be here, Toby.
No, it's great to see you. So look, I love to start with an intro, and you've got a story. So give us a little bit of the fable of Amjad Zoghbi, and then tell us a little bit about TRG Screen at the same time.
Yeah, of course. Well, Toby, first of all, thank you so much for getting me here. It's an absolute pleasure to see you.
Likewise.
Again.
Likewise.
I know you and I go back a while, but yeah, right now, head of AI at TRG Screen. Before that, was head of solutions engineering, again at TRG Screen, but TRG acquired the company that we built expansion for. We started off expansion in 2013, I think, something like that. Did it for the best part of 10, 12 years. Worked in partnership with TRG Screen for 5 years. Got acquired by the company.
Which is always a good sign to work with it. When you're working in partnership and you get acquired, it's not just one of those things which is it going to work. They know you and like it.
They know us, and we kind of worked with the team very closely. I'll tell you a bit more about what TRG does, but we go back 5-6 years before the acquisition, and we, as expansion, started off the company 5 years before that. You and I met even before that, back in the day where I was at Sophis, and we had done some work together. So yeah, absolute pleasure to be here today. TRG Screen specializes in market data cost management and cost optimization. We work with the largest financial institutions in the world. We provide them with software to help them understand their costs on market data, optimize their spend, and ensure compliance.
We'll jump into a little bit more about that in a second, but I just want to go back to the thing you're saying. Look, you were there in partnership for a long time with the company, and then obviously went to the acquisition. Tell me about that decision. What sort of made it feel right for you? Obviously, then went into that head of solutions engineering sort of role. What made that the right choice for you and the business?
Screen.
Well,
we started off in 2013, built one of the first products, which were cloud-based native products to help organizations.
Still humming and ahhing about a cloud at that stage, which sounds crazy to say, doesn't it? In this space.
Exactly. So we built it was the first product. I'm hands-on to say that Exmo was the first cloud-based solution to help organizations track cost of reference data. It's a small industry, and people heard about us, and one of the people that reached out to us was the team at TRG Screen at the time. And they said, hey guys, we think you're doing something really interesting. Can we start looking at potentially reselling your software or partnering for that purpose? And so we thought it was a great idea. We're a small team. TRG brought in a global presence on their sales team and just support on that side of things. So we put the partnership in place that allowed them to look into our products, and we had a great success story really on the partnership side for a number of years. And then the businesses came together. It was a natural progression. TRG was acquired, changed acquisition from a private equity firm, and it just made sense to bring the businesses together. And since they knew us, we knew them, we were already working very well together. It made a lot of sense.
Perfect. So tell me a little bit about the business. So who you're dealing with, why it stands out. There's lots of exciting things. I know you've always been sort of at the very forefront of ideas and industries that sort of make a difference. Tell us what's making a difference in the business right now.
At TRG, so as I said earlier, TRG helps organizations manage the cost of market data. Market data is one of the top expenses in financial firms. It's a complex part of the spend.
Yeah.
And today we are the only company that provides spend and inventory management systems, usage management systems, and compliance under the same team.
Yeah.
Which means that we have a very comprehensive offering. We'll talk about the AI part of it in a bit.
Yeah.
But we've been very successful in deploying and reducing costs of market data for organizations.
Which has been a pain point for so many years. I mean, I think about the conversations I've had with end users of the events I've been at, the sort of number of times it's come up on panels, etc., etc.
Yeah.
The cost of market data it's been a perennial thorn in the side.
Yeah.
And I think when we're talking about a time where the conversation is only about efficiency or productivity, cost reduction falls very heavily into that efficiency play.
Yeah.
It's been a really important thing to come through, and no wonder that obviously it's been something that's been invested in, that's been grown through, and had the sort of traction that you guys have had recently.
Absolutely, and it's we've been around doing this for 30 years or so.
Yeah.
As you said, it's a complex industry.
Yeah.
The costs are very high.
Yeah.
Very little control from clients on those costs, and very little visibility.
Yeah.
It's important not just to know what contracts you have with your vendors without going into much detail, but what contracts you have with those vendors, also who's using these feeds or these data feeds,
Yeah.
and whether you're compliant with their usage or not.
Yeah.
It's a pretty specialist sector, and again, we've been doing this for a number of decades now.
Yeah.
We'll be powering this up with new technology, and AI is a big part of that.
This is what I wanted to go into. I've spoken on this show to companies that are brand new and launching. I've spoken to companies that have been around for a long sort of time. And I think sometimes when you see some of those, there's not a huge amount of companies that are over 10 years old in this space. Particularly when you're talking about software and tech. Then when you see companies that are over 20 years old, it gets to another stage. And then you see the sort of behemoths that have been there for 30 years plus, of which you guys sort of sit in that category. And there are two types, in my opinion, who sit in that world. There are those who are a little bit dusty and say, look, this is what we do it really well, like it or leave it.
Yeah.
And there's those sort of more pioneering things who act and play like a startup all the way through, who invest and improvise and adapt and change, and look at what's happening and where the future's going and doing all that sort of stuff. And I think that's really exciting.
Yeah.
Now, what piqued my attention when you popped up on my feed was that sort of title. When you're sat there and saying, people are investing in AI, people are looking at AI, people are saying this is an important thing for us to go into. There's the gesturing that happens and the positioning and the sort of readapting of a message. So what I call the sort of branding piece of AI,
Yeah, that's true.
where people are saying, look, we're going to put AI at the end of our of our business now. And there's people there who are saying, right, this technology that we've always had, we're just going to rebadge as AI, and then that can give us a premium on either our multiplier or how we pitch it. And then there are people there who are saying, look, we are all in on this, and we can see it being the future, and we can see what happens to all of that. Now, they've put one of the great minds of the industry into that sort of position. It shows that there's that sort of investment into the space. Tell us what it actually means when you're there and head of AI. Why has your position, your job title changed? What does that mean, and what does it mean for the business and how you're getting involved in it?
Sure. There's a lot to say and to unpack in this. Firstly, I think really AI is the tool, like many tools that we have out there. So for us, AI is not the end all. It is a tool to apply our strategy and to add value to our clients. So it's the first part of it is, how is AI going to help us and our clients do whatever they do better? And we'll dig into that. So that was the initial approach. Strategy first, the tools and AI come next. Now,
Absolutely.
It's come up that AI is a technology that's come out for a number of years now, mass adoption across the board. We do see and realize that, where are we going to extract the value from it? There's a lot of talk and a lot of hype, and it's a very fast-moving industry. But ultimately, again, coming back to the point is, how are we going to use this technology to improve what we do for our clients? And that could be improving their efficiency in using our systems. It could be improving their, reducing the time they spend with our applications, but through automation. It could be maybe uncovering insights. We'll unpack all of these. But first and foremost for us is, how is AI going to drive value to our clients? And we have a number of ways to look into this, but AI at TRG Screen is client-facing, but also it's infusing AI within our organization.
Yeah, this is really important.
And making it part of our DNA, because it is more than the hype. There's clearly value in terms of, and what we've noticed, there's clearly value for the employees in terms of increasing productivity, improving the way they do things in terms of automation, and also scaling knowledge is a very important part.
Yeah.
In fact, one of the AI tools that started off at TRG was an internal tool that helped us scale the knowledge.
Yeah.
As we mentioned earlier, TRG acquired Expansion, but through investments they had, we were scaling the sales team incredibly. So we had a new sales team members join in, and they wanted to know about Exmon, our product, or the Expansion products. A lot of these questions came over to our team.
Yeah.
And one of the tools was, hey, can we use AI to answer those questions and get the answers to our sales team faster?
Yeah.
And also offload the time that we spend answering those questions.
Yeah.
Right? And that was one of the first use cases. Maybe a very simple use case, but the adoption rate was incredible.
It's the best way for it to start, isn't it?
Yeah. I think a bit more than a third of the company now uses that AI tool that we've built, and we've adapted it since then. So it's not just about the Expansion products now. We've expanded to a wider TRG Screen products. It supports a lot of the functions internally too.
So talk to me about that. So you mentioned there, you said a third of the company now are now utilising it, right?
Yeah.
So tell me, I think a lot of tech adoption, internally and externally, but specifically actually internally, is all about the sort of messaging and the winning of hearts and minds. And I think there'll be people there who are adopters and there'll be people there who are naysayers. It's always the same in any sort of tech cycle, isn't it? So, when you say that's a third, what constitutes good adoption? Is a third of good adoption? Is everyone good adoption? What's the end goal in that? And B, what was the work that you did internally to make sure that people were, because as you said, look, it's a time-saving thing, but it's there and saying, look, we have these questions, let's make it efficient, let's effectively get AI to do the job for us in that sort of space. Now, some people can say, look, I want human interaction, I want to come over and hear it from the horse's mouth. Yeah. But you've obviously done a very good job at getting the adoption of that story right. What was the key to that working?
A number of things. Firstly, from a tooling point of view and why it's a third, that tool that we built internally was focused just on the sales team, right?
Yeah.
So the adoption of the sales team is 100%. Everybody in the sales team uses it because it gives them access to information really quickly.
Yeah.
But then it started extending out to the third of the company that I mentioned, because you always want to know about product features, functionality, what's coming next. Now, in terms of adoption, convenience, so thinking about how to make it accessible to users, even within the organization, it's the same strategy and principles that you would apply when you're building products externally. How can you make sure people adopt it and use it? So lowering the barriers of facilitating its adoption, its access, right? As an example, the tool is accessible over our Slack channels, and this is just the way everybody uses Slack. Everybody's on Slack. It's just now that we've created this AI sales assistant. It's accessible to everyone in the organization. You can take the phone right now and ask it a question about one of our products. So it's made access to knowledge scalable, which is one of the fundamental strategy values that we have for AI internally, is making knowledge scalable. So we've scaled the knowledge of our solutions engineering team, or P-sales team, to the sales function. And we've got many success stories on this. Sales reps going out to clients and talking to clients, and then the clients might ask them a question about our product, and they just take the AI assistant and kind of generate that for them. So it's supported them with product functionality, product releases, how to position things, and what our buyers are interested in. There's a lot of knowledge that goes into that kind of AI tooling, and it's been very successful doing that.
Do you know what I like hearing about this is you're aware of the sort of whole concept of the cobbler's shoes, and how that people that don't often think about the internal stuff when they're doing this sort of thing. So, recruitment firms are traditionally pretty bad at recruiting for their own business. for their own business. I've spoken to a lot of marketing companies, particularly in this sort of space, who are very good at marketing other people's businesses, but not necessarily great at marketing their own business. And I think this is a really interesting part of it, because it would be very easy to say, look, we want to spend all of our time focusing on money-making activity externally and put all of our product and development time into that sort of space. But to flip that narrative and to have started from an internal basis and to have started small and built up internally first, I think that's a really, not unique, but it's certainly an unusual sort of play to look at it, and it's a really refreshing way. And that's probably, as you say, look, your journey to having this this title came through from iteratively trying and testing and
That's
building and then building it from there, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And the story moved very quickly. I mean, at the beginning of this year, we had a big push from our CEO and our investors. All our portfolio companies need to adopt AI in some way or another. So the push started there.
What prompted that? What was the thought process when that came through?
There is so from an AI point of view, from an AI technology point of view, it is seen and believed and shown to be true that AI is actually a transformational technology. If you use it right, with the right strategy to back it up and in the right use cases, it can be really transformational from many aspects. It can be, and we'll talk about how it can support our services, because to compress the time that people interact with a service, keeping the human as the center of it or the decision-making process, but liberating them from the more kind of trivial, automatable tasks. There are a number of use cases there, and one of them is also extracting insights, which are not easy always to talk about. We'll talk about those things in a bit, I suppose, but it has been seen as a transformational technology, a bit like what cloud was more than a decade ago. When we started off expansion, we were one of the first companies that built it on cloud. People were pushing back a little bit. We feel now, people aren't pushing as much on AI, but it's one of those technologies still being discovered and kind of.
So I have a theory about this. That when did I first start recruiting in cloud? Probably 2003, maybe 4. Cloud technologies first, probably around that sort of time. Give or take. And it was obvious at that sort of stage, but everyone was very sort of entrenched in, we're all very protective about our data and protective about where people could do, and a lack of trust. I think cloud took faster adoption outside of the FS space, and still in the, even the late 2019 or 20 teens, people were still sort of slow to adopt cloud in the financial services space because of security and governance and regulation and everything else around that. Everywhere else was racing further forward into it. Then we had COVID, and I think COVID was the thing that really allowed full adoption of cloud within the FS space. And it was transformational, and you saw companies absolutely explode through the back end of 2021, 2022. It was a phenomenal sort of period to see that sort of grow. And now cloud is, you just wouldn't think of it as anywhere else, right? You mentioned before we came on air about sort of blockchain technology, and there's been use cases where blockchain's been fantastic, but if we rewind, probably 7 years, and I was talking to people, in our customer base, it was, digital assets, crypto was interesting, but the real interesting part of it was DLT, and everything else in between there. And they were getting excited about the technology as opposed to the asset class, and that's probably switched a little bit further into the asset class being the jewel in the crown as opposed to blockchain technology. I spoke to someone else from a hedge fund recently on this show about, again, why he was much more excited about AI than he was about blockchain at any sort of stage. So I'm interested to see which pathway AI takes, because there is obviously so much to get excited about with AI, but there's also a lot of checks and balances, particularly within this FS space. So we're thinking that cloud was slow to adopt in FS because of the regulatory aspect of it all. Approximately right is the danger zone of, and hallucinations is the danger zone of AI. And there will be this thing where everyone wants to be in the race, but everyone's, has their toe in the water, but desperately worried about running all the way in case there's sharks in the water alongside it. So I'm interested as to what the COVID moment is, hopefully not anything like that, but what the COVID moment is that really gets AI into the marketplace. And I guess the other side of why people are worried about the waters is that whole ongoing conversation about whether AI is going to take my job and whether anyone's got a job in a few years' time. I guess as head of AI, you're safe. So I've given you a little bit of verbal diarrhea there, throwing stuff at you. But just framing a conversation there about why that happens and what makes it work in this space.
All valid points, and I think very interesting points. And yes, there was a pushback from the cloud when we started off a decade or more ago. I remember going to clients and saying, "Hey, we love your product, but it has to be installed on-premise." A year or two later, they said, "We don't want it on-premise anymore. We want it in the cloud." The vision has started gradually changing there because it has value, and the value for this was, for the clients, it made no sense. It was a no-brainer from a cost point of view.
Yeah.
Not to have it in the cloud.
Yeah. And Pioneers showed that it was safer as well alongside that.
Well, yeah, absolutely. The security and the governance aspect of it, true, but fundamentally it's also about, hey, this is going to be much more competitive. As a software vendor, we were much more competitive providing our solutions in the cloud, and there was a true monetary value to that. The foundations of governance and security, had to be there, and it's the same questions with AI. In fact, with a lot of technologies, there will be, the question marks in terms of the data and all of these things, and maybe even more now with AI. But if you have those foundations right, it makes monetary sense to have it in the cloud, and this is why now most of the deployments will be in the cloud. On-premise stays and is there, but cloud is by far, I think, in terms of the software developer, the deployment, the tool to go. Mm-hmm. Now, blockchain has been, great technology. It's got its use cases, but in terms of mass adoption, we haven't seen mass adoption across the board.
Yeah. Contrary to popular belief over time.
Yeah, exactly. However, with AI, I will maybe compare this to what the cloud was a decade ago, but probably going much faster than that. There's a flurry of activity. It's going to stabilize and calm down a little bit more as people realize how to use this tool, but it's not always that we see, I think, technology that's being adapted in a mass way like that. Everybody, now, 3 years after the release of models like ChatGPT, everybody is using these things.
It can only be comparable with the internet, right?
I think so too. I think it's one of those transformational technologies that you get every 10, 15, 20 years actually to reuse it. So in our world, to touch on the point in terms of putting your feet in the water and with the sharks, etc., AI has proven its value internally many times in terms of the investments that we've put in. It cost us almost nothing to run internally, but the amount of value that it's brought to our sales team, to our clients, in terms of time saved and revenues generated is just multiples of that. The ROI is very high.
Yeah.
And we will continue on that path. So for us, internal AI is scaling knowledge, making it accessible 24/7 for anyone that is asking for it.
Yeah.
It's about improving operational efficiencies of our team, getting more things done more efficiently, and then thinking about innovating in products and kind of feeding this back. And now, from a client point of view, we have a roadmap on AI, which will deliver to us. We have a vision from our solutions is that our clients would be communicating with our AI-enabled or intelligent market data platform. And that's going to change how people interact with it in the years to come. Because you'll be infusing AI in everything you do, in the platform itself. As you can chat with ChatGPT or Claude AI and you're just communicating in that natural way, we see our platforms as users communicating it in that way. And that brings in a lot of inefficiencies. That takes a lot of inefficiencies out.
Yeah.
Email communication or process communication, all of these things can be much more streamlined using AI. But also on top of that, there's a lot of talk about AI agents and agentic workflows and how do we automate these things and what's the difference or how we can apply this to us. In our world, in our setup, we think we're at a key point where agentic workflows are going to make a big difference. They are going to support our users and make them multiples of times more efficient in their usage of our products. A lot of things that get done in our systems are workflows and sort of repetitive processes. There is a human decision to be made, but this is what AI will bring. And I think to me, that's the difference between just a standard automation and AI automation. With AI automation, you can actually put in the way that you would think about things within the automation framework.
This is an interesting point. I was talking to Rob, our COO, the other day about the sort of the difference between automation and AI, and people getting that wrong. People pitching that wrong, people discussing it wrong, people having conversations about how they're adopting AI into their business, and they're not adopting AI. They're adopting automations into their business. So tell us a little bit about the differentiation there. I mean, look, there's a lot of people here who'll be well versed to this already, but I think it's a really interesting point to dive into and say, what does it actually mean?
I mean, the difference to me between standard automation workflows and AI is that you can bring in an element of standard automations is a step-by-step process. So you do this, then you do that, then you do this, then you do that.
It rolls through, it's pre-programmed.
Yes, exactly. Whereas with AI, you're infusing an element of uncertainty, just learning, but also having the agents themselves decide what they're going to do.
Yeah.
Right. So it's a bit like explaining to you, hey, this is what we're going to do, and then leading you to do it, and finding ways to do that. So that's to us the difference, and that's important because a lot of the workflows the way users use our products is based on the way they think, and they might make certain decisions or certain plans of actions based on different inputs. And again, this is going to be a very good use case, I think, for agentic AIs in our workflows, because it's a bit like having the system think like its user or its administrator, and then launching those actions. Now, I think it's important also to say that it won't necessarily run by itself all the time. This is where the human element is important, because it will just surface up certain decisions that are going to be made to the user. So it will say, for example, I found out this, or I did that. Do you approve it? And if you do, then it goes on and performs those actions on your behalf.
Yeah, and you mentioned there the whole sort of concept of almost the humanization of the agent in that process. And I've had conversations recently where people have talked about their headcount being X, but they see 50% of that headcount being agents as as people. So, there's a company I know that was 60 people that became a 15-person business,
right,
but they maintained the fact that they were a 60-person business just with a whole load of agents who were their staff, within that sort of remit. And I think that's brings about a lot of the fear around this industry that actually, Christ, I'm not going to adopt this. I'd love to adopt it. I can see the benefit. I can see where it goes, but I'm also concerned about, my job, my livelihood, wherever that sort of sits there. So, when you're looking at that, what does that mean for you?
Yeah, I mean, it's a valid concern, right? So, but with the way we see it is that jobs are not necessarily going to go away. I think you'll be focused on more strategic, more important, more high value adding tasks in the organization.
Right.
And AI will just take out a lot of the, again, trivial, repetitive tasks. So we think people will definitely still be involved in the decision process, but it's a decision rather than going to the application and modifying this parameter or doing this particular thing. So it's really having them focused on the high value task. And this is, again, what we've seen on the internal side.
Yeah, I was about to say
it's exactly that, and it's really increasing productivity, increasing knowledge, access to knowledge, and increasing, enhancing again productivity and the scale of the teams. But that's going to happen probably on the client side too.
Yeah, I absolutely think this is the root of traffic, isn't it? Because once you're talking there about your internal teams, and when you can start to think about, right, how can I superpower my teams to make sure they're doing the best possible work and the most valuable possible work all the time, building relationships wherever it goes. That's where I think it gets really exciting.
Exactly.
And so you're doing all of this sort of stuff, and you built this AI innovation lab, and that gets really cool. That gets really exciting. And I guess it makes you look outside as well as to saying, right, how can we really help our customers within this, which should be the sort of overall modus operandi of everything you're doing with it, right? So tell us what the AI Innovation Lab's all about, and how you're working in it, how you're leading it, and what it's looking to do.
Yeah, absolutely. So AI for TRG Screen is going to become part of our product offerings for our clients, right? So there's a very solid AI roadmap on our products to add AI in certain aspects of the systems. But before I talk about the AI Innovation Lab, for us, AI is really three things. Number one, for our clients, is using AI to load data into our system. Some things are very complicated to do without AI, like reading documents or parsing information in a way that's easy to do or accurate. AI is prime for this. We load a lot of information and documentation in our systems, and AI is perfect for that. So we're going to be using it in that area. We're going to be using AI for automating workflows. That's the agentic part. It's important to distinguish between workflow automation and agentic workflows, right? The reason why agentic for us is key is that these rules or these guidelines that we're going to give to the agents when they're going to be automating the tasks is industry knowledge. It's not your average, hey, I'm going to automate it. So we've got teams of a big managed services team that's going to provide those rules or this industry knowledge in those agentic workflows to make it act as a market data user, which are our typical audience. The third thing that we're going to use AI in is to deliver insights for clients. So, hey, did you think about this for reducing your cost, or did you look into this area? And AI is perfect for that because it can go through a lot of data very quickly, and if you give it the right guidelines and the right supporting principles, it will deliver these insights, and we've seen it very successfully. In fact, we've actually rolled it out in 2 of our products already over the last month or so. So these are the 3 elements I think that clients can expect to see AI into our products. This is in the main product roadmap. We also are creating what we're calling the AI Innovations Lab, which will build an AI toolkits or AI tools around our solutions at pace, because there's so much that can be done using AI into our solutions, and that is a team that's going to build those toolkits and provide them to our clients, as well as the main product roadmap.
It's so cool, isn't it? You must be loving it.
Yes, absolutely.
I know that you've always been someone there who's thought and been looking further forward and all that sort of stuff. You can see it with, what happened with Sophos. You can see what's happening now with, and how the business has evolved and where you sit with it all.
Yeah.
And I'm always fascinated just with the forward-thinking nature of how and what you do things. So, look, I've got no doubt it's going to be a massive success. It sounds really exciting about where you're going with it and what you're doing. So, let's finish by what's next for TRG Screen. You mentioned a little bit about it from what happens from a product thing, but what's exciting? We'll be having this out in the final quarter of 2025. 2026 has got a wealth of opportunity behind it. What can we expect to see from TRG Screen? Then who should be reaching out to you, and what's the best way for them to get in touch?
No, absolutely. I mean, so TRG Screen, I think we're on an AI journey. There's going to be going even faster, I think, over the next quarter, but also in the next year. It
is really quarter by quarter as well, isn't it? How quickly things change and evolve.
They change so fast.
Yeah.
But we have support of our investors. We have support of our executive team to push these things through, which is great. So expect to see more exciting functionality and features, AI-powered functionality and features. But again, this is not just about AI as AI. It is also to drive value to our clients. So there's a lot of focus on, hey, how can we use this technology to add value, and all those things that we talked about. So you can expect a lot of that too.
Perfect. And who should be getting in touch? Who should be reaching out to you, and what's the best way for them to do that?
By email, I guess.
Finding you on LinkedIn, looking at the website, all of the above.
We've got a team that I'm happy to share the contacts there directly if you want.
Superb.
But I'm on LinkedIn if you'd like to reach out.
Superb. Listen, love this story. It's wonderful to catch up with you again. I said it at the outset of the show. There's sort of 3 or 4 people in our journey who were there at the very start of it, who gave us that opportunity, who allowed us to sort of build this business as a whole. So I will be forever grateful for you for taking that call, for inviting me into the office, and let me be part of the story. So, Amjad, you're a big part of Harrington Star. It's great to have you back on the show again.
Appreciate this, Toby. So good
love
to see
talking to you as well.
And I'm so happy to be here today. So thank you.
Fantastic.